Hello, neighbors. My name is Robert J. Ray. I'm president of the Organism Chapter 4, which is a professional development process, and it's on the internet if you wish to check it out. But my society always want me to comment on what happens in America, and especially in crisis situation and in a situation where there's been a heinous crime committed. So I'm going to talk to you today, and I'm going to listen and react to the Boulder, Colorado shooting.
About 10 minutes
My name is Dion Wall. I'm the Public Information Officer for the City of Boulder Police Department. We're going to have 3 speakers during this press conference. The first is going to be the Boulder Police Chief, Maris Harold. Her name is spelled Maris Herold. Then we're going to have District Attorney Michael Doherty, and then we're going to have someone from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Chief Harold.
Thanks, Dion. The first thing I want to say is I want to say our hearts of this community go out to the victims of this horrific incident. We know of 10 fatalities at the scene, including one of our...
See, so there you have it. The police chief has come out. The murders have been committed, and now they are giving a news conference, which it's okay to do that, but it's the police always come up after the victims have been victimized. I mean, the people are shot. It's 10 people killed already, so you'll never get those people back. So now the police chief, she's coming out and she's having a news conference to tell you what we already know, that the people are dead and we got a person that shot the individual. So let's find out who shot the individual.
Our Boulder PD officers by the name of Eric Talley, who's been on the Boulder Police Department since 2010. He served in numerous roles supporting the Boulder Police Department and the community of Boulder. And I have to tell you, the heroic action of this officer when he responded to this scene.
Now we have the chief patting the officer that got killed on the back. I mean, he did his job he was supposed to do. But see, you have to be more aware when you're a police officer. If you get a call that somebody's in a shopping center or a mall and they're shooting, you just can't go running in there and you don't know who the shooter is. I mean, you have to take precautions. You see it on TV all the time. When the police go in on law and order, they always look in and see if they can see anybody, and then they slide in by the door. And this is what you have to do. You can't do that. You can't just go running into a situation and you don't know who's doing the shooting. So he victimized himself to that. It was a heroic act, but he did victimize himself. He didn't have to die like that.
At 14:30 hours, the Boulder Police Department began receiving phone calls of shots fired in the area and a phone call about a possible person with a patrol rifle. Officer Talley responded to the scene, was the first on the scene, and he was fatally shot. I also want to commend the heroic actions of the officers responding not only from Boulder PD, but from across the county and other parts of this region. Police officers' actions felt nothing short of being heroic. I also want to thank...
Now it's all about the police officers. You know, not about the victims now. It's about how heroic the police officers did. They're not heroes. I mean, it's 10 people dead. How are you going to call police heroic when these many people have been murdered, have been shot down? So this is what the police is always reactionary. They always want to react to a crime that has been committed. So this is why people are so pushed away from police officers, because they can't do anything to prevent this from happening. They only come after the murder has been committed. And when you think about it, this is irrational policing here, because they can only come and try to solve the murder after the murder has been committed. This is kind of irrational to me, that it should be something else.
The men and women who responded, including state, local, and federal authorities. Obviously, this is a very complex investigation that will take no less than 5 days to complete. And again, my heart.
There you go. She's saying that this is a complex investigation to make themselves look good or look professional, like they're doing their job. What is complex about it? They caught the guy. They know who did the shooting. He's probably done confessed to it. So why would it take 5 days to tell you what we already know? You see how ineffective the police departments are? They need more training.
Goes out to the victims of this incident. And I'm grateful for the police officers that responded. And I am so sorry about the loss of Officer Talley. And again, we will be here working night and day. We have one suspect in custody. I want to reassure the community that they are safe and that we will try to do our best over the next few hours to identify the victims. And we'll be working with the coroner's office to do that as promptly as possible, because I know there are people out there.
Now she's saying that they've got a suspect in custody. I mean, isn't that the only suspect? Did he have anybody he's working with? Wasn't anybody else shooting? Did anybody else see anybody? So it's this is one individual. They should say this. We think we've got the individual that perpetrated this crime. But she's trying to make it look like it may be, you can infer that it may be some other individuals involved in it, which there is not. And now she's saying that they're going to try to take time to identify the victims. And so what difference does it make if you identify the victims? The only people that's going to really grieve is the people who love these individuals and their family members who it is. So we don't care who the victims are. We care about how did the victims get in that predicament and how did they end up dead.
Waiting for an answer, and I am very sympathetic to that, and we will work around the clock to get this accomplished.
Chief recognized.
With that in mind, I'm going to turn this over to District Attorney Michael Doherty.
Good evening. Boulder has suffered a terrible and horrific mass shooting today. And I want to second what the chief said about the appreciation for the local, state, and federal partners that have responded to this location and to help with the investigation. This is not the first mass shooting that we've had in the state of Colorado. And one thing that's happened in response to each and every one, including today's horrific acts, is the response that we have from law enforcement partners throughout the metro area, victim advocates from throughout the area around Boulder, and investigators from local, state, and federal agencies.
Now here you got the DA. Here he comes. He's patting each other on the back. He's saying that they was heroic in this state. They don't understand that these people's family, they don't see any heroic act that was performed. The only heroic thing that could have been done if they'd have got the guy before he started shooting people. So this is what I'm anxious to say, is that no heroics should be here, but they're coming out patting themselves on the back like they've had mass shooting before. What difference does that make? Now you got another mass shooting, and if you don't change some things, you have another mass shooting in the future.
As well as prosecutors from the U.S. Attorney's Office and from my office to ensure that justice is done. My heart goes out to Eric Talley's family, his loved ones, and his colleagues. He was, by all accounts, one of the outstanding officers of the Boulder Police Department, and his life was cut far too short as he responded to the shooting that was taking place at King Soopers. I also want to stress how incredibly sorry I am for all the victims who were killed at King Soopers. These were people going about their day, doing their food shopping, and their lives were cut abruptly and tragically short by the shooter, who is now in custody. I promise the victims and the people of the state of Colorado that we will secure justice and do everything we must do to get justice in this case. In order for that to happen...
Now, you hear the DA, he said he's going to do everything to get justice in this case. Well, we know that. We know he's going to do. Any DA would say the same thing. But what was the end in the shooting? They going with the cause and effect. You understand? Let me share this with you. The cause and effect. The guy shot these people down, which was the cause. And now the effect is that they are coming out to try to solve the crime and try to prosecute the criminal and do what they do after the crime has been committed. Now, what is the end in the murders? What was the end in it? They don't know that. That will have to be discovered when they talk to the guy that did the shooting, which is, I think his name is Elise something. He wasn't born in this country, but he came here at the age of 3. Now, I'm going to share with you what has to be done to prevent these type of mass murders. It's all about bad mental health. The shooter, Elise, had bad mental health that day, and he's on this continuum, and everybody's on that same continuum. You're either at a 5 or 6 where you can carry on a normal conversation with people, and they'll think that you're normal, and you'll behave normal. And evidently, he was doing this up until that particular day and that particular time when he decided that he's going to take the gun he bought a few days ago and go down and start killing people. Now, his mental health has slipped down on the mental health continuum. He's down as a 0 now. He had suicide range and he had murder range. This is what we've got to get a hand on. It's the mental health of the individual that does these shootings. Now, how do you prevent this style of stuff? Everyone has to be vigilant in the people they're around. His brother said it, or his sister said that he was suffering from bad mental health, that he was angry, that he was talking about these fantasies that he was having, maybe about killing people. And if they heard this and they knew that he was like this, it was their duty to share that with some professional people and even some law enforcement people to tell them, say, hey, my brother, he's been talking about, he's been in a depressive state and his mental health seemed to be bad, and he's went and bought a gun now. That's what they should have done. And this is what we all have to do as Americans. If you got a family member that you know that he's not right, he's not bright, that he's in something from bad mental health, you got to watch that and you got to say, hey, this individual may want to hurt himself or other people if we don't get him some help. And this is what has to take place. We got to have a better mental health situation in America. We've got to have people to realize that if people are talking about killing somebody, if they'll stand up in their room and withdraw for days, it's something wrong with this person. And you got to get a hand on it. You got to get into prevention. Otherwise, these murders are going to keep going on. You can't stop these type of murders. The only way you can do this is for everybody to, if they hear an individual say anything like this, they've got to share it with somebody. If this individual was angry, and they said he was angry, and they said he was suicidal maybe, and they said that he was thinking, and then he went and bought a gun, and they still didn't do anything about it. They're just as much at fault as their brother is, because they did not go and share what was taking place in this guy's mind and his mental health. So until we get to the point that we get everybody geared into watching people's mental health, they could be as sane as anybody else today and then be down on the lower end of the mental health continuum tomorrow and ready to kill people or commit suicide. That's why you have to, when you talk to people, you have to find out what type of mental state are they in. They can't get too happy up on this end, which is a 10, and they can't go too low down on the mental health to 0, because something will happen here and something may happen here. That's why they have mental health issues like manic depressive. You manic at some point in the day, and then you depressed the next time. When we have people and educate them on what to look for in these type of individuals, then this was what will cut down on the mass murders, and it may even eliminate it. Because once you see a person's mental health is slipping and sliding down on this mental health continuum, then you can get him some help. Until we do that as Americans, you'll never be able to stop these type of mass killings. That's all I've got to share with you at this time, and I'm anxious to move on.